Morning everybody, TJ Arnault with Wildlife Dominion and HogEye camera systems, and this fella standing right here to my left is somebody you may recognize.
How y'all doing? I'm David Yawt Yawt Ellis from the Yawt Yawt podcast and YouTube, and today we're here to show you how to put the Big Pig Trap together.
So behind us we've got a Big Pig drop trap. Whenever it shows up to your location, it may look something just like this. It's going to be on a 4x10 pallet. It may be delivered on a truck just like this, or it may be on a trailer. Anyway, when it shows up to your place, this is what it looks like. We're fixing to set it on the ground and go through a full setup. So stay tuned.
All right, when you receive your trap, you will have 4 panels, the 4-way centerpiece, 4 legs, 4 cross members, and everything you need to put it together for assembly will be in this box. So let's get this broken down in position and let's show you how to assemble it.
So one thing we recommend whenever you first receive your Big Pig drop trap, it's always best to put it together first someplace easy to get to. That way you can figure out exactly where everything goes. You're not trying to assemble it for the very first time out in the field where you're actually trying to catch pigs. So if you put it together close and learn it, it's much easier to do faster in the field where you actually plan on trapping. So the kit bucket that comes with your Big Pig drop trap contains a number of things that you'll need to assemble your trap and use it from time to time. The first of those is going to be your gate chains, your trigger cables, as we call them sometimes. Set those to the side. Red rollers that will be necessary for assembly. You're going to have a number of pins that we'll go over when we get to those. We have a chain that will be used to hold your gate closed. Of course, the winch that is used to raise your trap up in the air into the set position. And then a number of different bolts used to assemble the trap, hold the winch on, and bolt your latch onto the 4-way.
All right, before you get out and ready to lay this out for assembly, make sure that you alternate the big ring holes and the small ring holes across from one another. And we'll show that here in just a minute. And the reason that is when you put the leg in, one of these legs has a hole in it. That's for your safety pin. You put the whole leg with the small ring, and that way when you put the safety pin in, for going in and out purposes, you don't have to worry about it if it was to fall or whatnot. All right, so you notice I got the leg with the hole in it. It goes in the small coupling, small ring. Also the ones that will have your cable hangers on it.
These are going to be your lift points. So the trap is both winched up and suspended when it's in the set mode by these hooks right here. So whenever it's raised all the way up in the air, you're going to use this hole for your safety pin to go in and out of the trap to bait it. The one thing you'll notice is whenever you receive your trap, it will actually be upside down on the pallet. So the easiest way to transport it is with these jump rings down. That gives it a little bit more stability so it won't tip over in transport. So just keep in mind, it is upside down when you get it, so you'll need to flip it over into the correct position whenever you assemble your trap.
Thing so light I can tote it.
So in reference to what David was talking about earlier with needing to alternate your rings, so you'll notice we got the larger rings and we got the smaller rings. You want to alternate the panels, large, small, large, small. That way they're opposite from each other and in the correct position. All right, some recommended tools for assembly. Although not necessary, a handheld battery-powered impact will save you a lot of time and wrist movement whenever you're assembling this trap. You're also going to need another wrench to hold the other side of the bolt. 9/16 is going to be your measurement for the trap assembly bolts that hold the 4 panels of the trap together. Go ahead and take those. One other thing that's handy to have but may not be wholly necessary is a 3/8 drill bit. The first time you ever assemble the trap, it could be possible that some of the holes may not line up exactly, and to save you bolts and to save the threads on your bolts, you may want to ream the hole out to make it full-sized just for your convenience. So this is something that's optional.
Here's a little tip for you. When setting this trap up, I can do it by myself in about 20 minutes, right? So here's a little tip. Don't use all your help on setting it. Use your help when it's time to drag pigs.
So here's another tip for you. I'm right-handed. I like to have the nuts on the right-hand side, whichever hand I'm going to be holding the impact in. This isn't necessary, but if you use the impact to spin the nut and just hold the bolt still, it will make your bolts actually last longer. If you use the impact to spin the bolt, it'll wear the threads over time. You'll have to replace your bolt sooner. So that's just a quick tip or a trick to make your parts and pieces last longer.
You should have seen by now how easy it is having that slack in between to be able to move your panels up or down, you know, depending on the terrain. Like this is thicker grass, so you're having to move it up and down. So if you were to tighten these up the whole time, as you're going, then you would get to a point to where it's real stiff and hard to get your bolts and nuts together. And also, if you get yourself in a bind, I know a lot of times we trap in muddy areas and different areas like this grass or whatnot, but if you happen to lose or drop and lose one, don't fret it. It doesn't have to be a locking nut to get you through. It'll hold. I just generally put those loose nuts up high opposed to low. But anyways, let's get to the top.
All right, now that you've got the 4 pieces of your trap and the legs assembled and bolted together, it's time to move on to the cross members. Whenever you first receive your trap, there's a few pieces you'll have to put on the first time that you'll never have to worry with again. Those are your red rollers and your winch. So we'll move on to that, show you how those go on, and then move back to the trap. So if you'll notice on your cross members, 2 of them are gonna have these holes all the way on the end. Those are for your red rollers, where your winch cable and your trigger cable goes over the top of. So you'll need to install these the very first time you get the trap, and then you'll never have to take them off again. If you notice, you'll have a washer on the outside, you'll have 8 washers in the center, and then another washer on this side. These will be split 4 and 4, and this is where your cross member will fall. So just like this. All right, so the first time you put these red rollers on your cross member, once you get it on there, you want to tighten it all the way down and then back it off just a little bit. That way it's not in a bind and will still spin freely, but you won't have any slack in it from side to side. So this is what we call the centerpiece, or the 4-way. This is where all 4 of your cross members join in the center of the trap. You'll notice on this run, there's going to be a hole on each side. Those are going to be for your pins. Now, depending on the age and model of your trap, these may be bolts, but now they're actually pins. So it could be either or depending on when you received your trap. So you're going to put this on this cross member that has the stops. And then you're going to insert the pin into your keeper holes. You're going to repeat the other side just like that. Whenever you receive your trap, the winch and the handle will be in the bucket separately. Of course, you'll need to remove this nut and put your winch handle on your winch. This is going to be another nut size. This one's 3/4. So you can either use a 3/4 wrench or you can use a pair of channel locks, crescent wrench, whatever you like or have at your disposal. This is another one of those pieces where once you put it on the first time, you'll never have to mess with it again. So on your cross member that has the red rollers, you're going to see the holes that are pre-drilled for your winch. Another quick tip or trick is you'll see these trigger tabs on the 4-way where your trigger cables are going to connect. I always like to and recommend having your winch handle mounted on the opposite side as your trigger tabs. So your trigger tabs on one side, your winch handle on the other. That way they never cross or interfere with each other. So in your kit bucket, it's going to come with a few extra washers. Depending on the length of the shoulder on the bottom of this bolt, you may need to use a few extra washers to get these as tight as possible. These are some of the nuts where you want to get them absolutely as tight as possible so there's no slack or play in your winch. This winch cable is just a little bit longer than you'll need for it to be perfect. That way you have the ability to adjust it from side to side if you flip-flop the winch, if you're on unlevel ground, anything like that. So it's not fixed in the spool, so you can adjust it from side to side. You're going to want to make sure you lift the trap up as evenly as possible. Some difference does not matter, but if it gets off too much, you may have difficulties from time to time. So we're going to put one side of this on first, and then we're going to go hook the other side. So we've got the winch cable hooked up on each side, and one way to kind of guess on how it's going to be even before you start to spool it is to pull your slack loops down. When they're about even, you're going to be pretty close. You may have to raise it, lower it, readjust from side to side, but this is just a good way to get you close the first time. Alrighty, so now that we have tension on both sides, we see that the trap is lifting up evenly on each side. It's coming off the ground on both sides at the same time. That way we know whenever we get to the top, we're going to be pretty close. So going back to what we talked about earlier, the two of these legs are going to have holes. These are for your safety pins. They may look something like this, or they may be a different style, but just know there's going to be 2 safety pins included in your bucket. When the trap is raised up in the air, these go in these holes to where you can safely move under and out of the trap to bait it, to get it into the right set mode, to adjust it from time to time. So you always want to be on the safe side. Make sure your safety pins are in here because this trap is heavy. It can hurt you if it falls on you. So you want to avoid that if at all possible.
All right, guys, and a real quick tip about your safety pins. I'm a forgetful guy, so when I come and rebait and whatnot, and when I do catch pigs, a lot of times we may forget if we left the safety pin or not. A good tip about that is just take a picture of your trap pin area so that you will kind of remember if you did or didn't pull the pins, because what happens a lot of times, somebody will pull one to forget to pull the other one, and I'm one of those guys.
So with your Big Pig Trap, you're going to receive a HogEye camera system. We're going to get to the camera setup in just a minute, but just know that the latch for the trap is contained in the box with the HogEye camera. So we're going to take the lid off, set it to the side. Your camera system is here. We're going to set this off to the side momentarily. Remove the packing material. Here we're going to find a thank you card, of course, a quick start guide for the camera. We're going to get to that. Facts and question sheets and manuals. Once again, we're going to set these off to the side. What you're looking for is the kit box. This is the kit box that comes with all the camera parts, pieces, and cabling. Inside of this box is where your latch for your trap is housed. And right here you're going to find your Southco latch. This is the latch that holds the trap in set mode that your camera system connects to. So you'll need to take this latch and attach it to the 4-way on your Big Pig drop trap. Inside the kit bucket is going to be these 2 short 1/4-inch bolts. These are going to be used to hold your latch onto the 4-way on the trap.
And like I said, on these, they just had to be hand tightened. They got a little lock nut on it, so just tighten it up just enough, leave you just a little slack in there. Once you have your trigger latch in place, you'll take your triggers, fold them up. This will come over in your chain, will actually go in the latch. So when you trigger this from your cell phone, that'll open up. These will come down, and we'll show you all that here in just a second. So when you get your trigger cables, you'll have chain on one side of it. And normally what you'll do is you'll take the eye end and set it on your triggers. Come down here over your roller. And then you'll be able to select a section of chain for it to set on so that it sits the highest that possible that it can sit. And then we'll do both sides.
So this trap is raised all the way up in the air, and typically on one side you're going to have at least a little bit of a gap. So take your low side, put your cable eyelet on your trigger tab, and then you're going to be able to see exactly where this is going to fall to make it as tight as possible. So I can see that this chain link is level with the top of this hook. So I can unhook this. I can hook this chain link that I just found on that hook, and then right here, that's going to be as tight as I can get it. So now I can switch to the other side and put the other side on the same chain link to make sure it ends up being perfectly level. So once you take the pressure off of your winch, your trap is now going to be fully suspended on the trigger cables. So whenever you disconnect these, the easiest thing to do is just wrap them around the body of your winch so you don't have to spool them all the way back up.
All right. Let's see. Now that we got the trap set, let's get over to the camera, and also we got to get it plugged in. All right, guys, we get ready to set our HogEye trap camera. For the trap, you'll need your T-post, and you'll drive this in the ground with the ribs facing away from the trap. That being because the bracket's going to hold that camera on. Now, personally, I like to be about one good step away, up and close and personal, and get a good view of those hogs in the trap. But there will be plenty of cord to plug in to get you further away if you don't want that camera up around your hog so much.
Included in with your HogEye camera system is going to be the brackets to screw on the back of the camera and then screw onto your antenna to mount them on the T-post. The T-post is not included, so make sure you grab one of those before you head to the field. We're going to go ahead and set the camera on the post, and then we'll pull all the rest of the cabling out of our kit box. So I always like my antenna to be as high on the post as possible. In the world of cell service, the higher you can get your antenna, the better. Now this antenna that comes with the HogEye camera system is going to be plenty good enough to connect you within 8 or so miles of the cell tower, which covers most of the United States. So the third bracket that comes with your camera system is going to be the solar panel bracket. This would go on this T-post to hold your solar panel upright. Some people choose to use this, some people don't. It's your option. So you can hold the solar panel upright with a zip tie, you can put it somewhere else, but this is there for you to use if you'd like to use this to hold your solar panel open and in direct sunlight. Included in your kit box are a number of cables, the first of which is going to be the gate cable, one end being green and the other end being clear. We can set this aside for after we get done setting up the camera. Additionally, this is your latch adapter. This will plug into the latch on the trap, so we can also set this to the side. This is going to be your battery cable that screws onto the battery once you put it in your box. Battery not included, so make sure you grab one before you head to the field as well. This is going to be the antenna cable, which will be the next piece we put on to connect the antenna from the bottom of the camera to the antenna itself. And then we have the power cable. This will go from your charge controller to plug directly into the bottom of the camera. Every connection is color coded. Yellow to yellow, green to green, blue to blue, and black to black. So if the colors don't match, take a step back and reevaluate.
Hey, one quick tip about this is when you're setting your camera up, I like to be in between the legs. That way it gives you a good field of view of it. And also when this IR light comes on at night, it's not just blinding, it's not just shining off of the legs itself. You want it looking directly in there, no obstruction.
So included in with your HogEye camera is your FAQ sheet. The very first section is going to be what kind of battery should I get. The bigger and better the battery, the less power issues that you may have over time. Here we have a Group 31 deep cycle, one of the recommended battery types, so that's always a great thing to pay very close attention to. If you skimp on the battery on the front end, it will cost you in the long run, so make sure to pay close attention to that. Another thing that you want to keep in mind, this is something that seems obvious, but you can forget it from time to time. If it's 95 degrees when you're trying to set this trap up, if you're in a hurry, always make sure that red goes on the positive side of the battery and black goes on the negative side of the battery. If you wire it up backwards, bad things happen and your camera won't work right. Inside of this camera box, you're going to see your charge controller. It comes with 3 plugs. The solar panel plugs into black, the battery plugs into blue, and the camera power cable plugs into yellow. The purpose of this is to regulate the charging and power on your camera. The solar panel charges the battery, and the battery powers the camera. Included with your HogEye camera system is going to be this tri-fold flexible solar panel. These are very durable and will not break if you just so happen to drop them on the ground or accidentally drive over them with a pickup truck. Although none of that is recommended, this will keep you safe in the event that you handle it roughly from time to time. On the back of this solar panel is where your cord is housed. So you're going to take this out, undo the Velcro, and then you're going to thread this cord into the side of your camera box. I like to pull all of my cord inside of this box to where it's safely protected from the elements. The more you have inside the box, the more is protected and the longer it will last you. We're going to plug black to black, and then we already have the battery plugged in blue to blue. If you ever have a question about which order to plug this in, there's a sticker on the inside of the camera box to remind you. The yellow cable that comes with your camera is the power cable. This is 15 feet long to where you can get your battery and your solar panel as far back from the trapper camera as you may want. Most people put the battery box right at the base of the camera, and that has no effect on most pigs out there.
So this is your gate cable. Green on one end, which will go into the green on your camera, and also it's clear on the other end, which this end will go to the latch on the trap. The clear end has a LED light in it so that it shows you that you have power going to the latch itself. So if there ever was an issue, that would let you know if your power is actually leaving your box.
You always want your gate cable to go up and over the trap. You don't ever want it to be under, because the trap will then drop on it, damage your gate cable, and the pigs will be able to get to it as well. So you want to go up and over the top of the trap with your gate cable.
So the clear end of the gate cable and your latch adapter will go together here. Like to put a little loop over that just to hold it up, and then this is adjusted to meet your latch. That's clicked in. Now you can pull the slack back towards your camera, and you're about ready to catch some hogs.
You know, there's certain things in life that just make things easier. Zip ties are your best friend in many facets of life, trapping included. This latch is rated for offshore use. They're incredibly durable, but you want to protect your connection where these small wires go into the body of the latch. You want to make sure they don't get pulled out if the pigs start moving this trap around. So you want to put a zip tie, if possible, around this four-way to hold the latch adapter in place. That way, if this trap happens to move, which it will as it's designed to do, the wire won't be pulling out of the body of the latch itself. So one quick tip is to always zip tie or tie a slack loop around your cross member. So this trap is designed to move a little bit from side to side whenever it falls. So if the pigs move the trap a foot or two, it's going to pull slack out of this loop instead of pulling the camera over or pulling against this latch. Something that's very important with your solar panel is you always want to have it facing south. If you face it north and the sun's in the south half of the sky, like it is where we are in the United States, you're going to have problems. Always make sure your solar panel is facing in a southern direction for optimal charging on your battery. As previously mentioned, one of the things included with your camera is the quick start guide. You're going to use this as a reference to create your account, how to activate your camera, how to download the app, and do anything and everything you could ever wonder on how to do with the camera system. So as you can see, we're up and running and live streaming. We got David right there in front of it. As soon as he gets out of the way, we'll push the drop button and show you how fast it drops. We're gonna hit the down arrows. We're gonna hit yes. As fast as that. That's all she wrote.
Yeah.
Alrighty guys, that's just about all she wrote. If you ever feel like you're experiencing any issues at all with your Big Pig drop trap, just call the number below. We'll be more than happy to take care of you. Or you can always send Mr. David Ellis a message on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, whatever you see fit. He loves the attention, I promise.
All right.
You got anything else to say?
I just hope y'all enjoyed the assembly, and hopefully it helps you in the field to catch more pigs.
Till next time.